Well, welcome everybody. We're excited for our guest today. He's a lifetime hairdresser, the co-founder of 124 Go and co-host of ShopTalk. He's a John Maxwell coach and a strategies coach. He's the director of business and leadership development for the Salon 124 group. So he just has a bunch of knowledge that he's going to drop with us today. So welcome, John.
And I love the fact that he's also a John Maxwell certified coach as well, too. So he might have froze up on us a little bit, Sean.
Yeah, is that my Wi-Fi or yours?
I think it's yours.
What I'm gonna do is, all right, I'm going to switch over to the hotspot on my phone.
Okay.
Just so we don't have that problem.
Sounds great.
All right.
And hang on, we're switching over.
Perfect. I just had to do the same thing.
There we go.
There we go.
Welcome, John. How are you today?
Can you hear us okay, John?
I can, yeah. I lost Sean, but I can hear you guys perfect. Yeah.
I think we're getting to be delayed a little bit here. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's our Wi-Fi or yours, but we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. But yeah, Sean just introduced you, of course, and we're gonna just kind of go back and forth and ask questions. So Sean, you go ahead and start, and then we'll continue on.
So John, a lifetime hairdresser, you're a beauty advocate. So where'd you get your start in the industry? Was this something, I always like to ask, was it like a passion from like you just knew at like 10 years old that this is what you were going to do, or did you just kind of stumble into the industry?
Yeah, I completely stumbled into it. I had no clue that I was ever going to be a hairdresser. It just wasn't even on my radar, to tell you the truth. But as all things happen, I met a woman, and she was a hairdresser, and I had just finished my third college. And it was like, you know what? She's having a good time. She's making great money. She's got great friends. She's got a great lifestyle. I want to hang out with her all the time. So why don't I just go to hairdressing school? So that's how I got here. And then the two of us opened up our own salon when I was 22. So I never even worked for anybody else. I just went right into it.
I tell you what, you got to listen to those women. We know what we're talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. Well, John, what my favorite thing right now about you is your new digital course that
thank you.
Offered. Yeah. And so I would love to kind of deep dive into that right away, because I think this is exactly what people are looking for. And I just started it, so I don't know every bit and piece of it, obviously, but it's 124 Go Academy, and it's super awesome. And I would love to hear how it originated and why you guys decided to do this course, A, and then B, I want to dive kind of into your portions, because I know that your 4 topics that you're going to talk about is leadership, coaching, profitability, and growth. And so I love that. Those are 4 of my favorite topics, of course. So, and awesome. I know our salon leaders here as well too. So first and foremost, where did this course come from, John, and why did you guys do it?
Well, it started off, we work, Chris and I, who's my co-host on the podcast, we both work with a guy named Brian Perdue. He's got 6 salons and a cosmetology school in Georgia. And one of the things that, in my own business, I told you I started that business when I was 22, and I learned the hard way I didn't know enough about business, right? And then, we bumped into Chris along the way, because Chris was the director of education for Kuhn Academy here in Atlanta. So we kind of met up because we carry the brand. And then, of course, Brian, again, has been doing this for 30 years now. And we realized all 3 of us had an affinity for wanting to help the salon owner. All 3 of us have been or are salon owners. We know what that road looks like. We know how hard it can be. And we just have a passion for the industry and the people that make it work. So we started off with this 4-day intensive. And a 4-day intensive is a 4-day, it's either virtual or live, depending on, where we're at the moment. But not everybody gets to spend 4 days in their comfy chair going through an online program, which is live. So it was actually Chris's brainstorm to kind of, well, what if we took the bits and nuggets of it, not the whole program, But what if we took the real nuggets of it and distilled it into a smaller bite-sized version that was also a little bit more affordable, that people could do at their own pace, at their own leisure? It's all video, and we just started working on it. And from there, it turned into a 28 video series, and I hope you like it.
Yeah, I'm excited already. I already like it for sure. So
Thank you.
But yeah, we'll kind of go back and forth here on your questions, but I know your first subject is on leadership. So
Right.
kind of give you the nuts and bolts of why you deep dive into leadership with salon owners.
I think that for many salon owners, that's the biggest challenge that they have, and I'm speaking to myself as well. I remember when I first, became a salon owner. How do you lead people? And I think we always kind of struggle with even what that definition means, right? I think we're all good at being bossy, right? We're all good at telling people what to do, but that's not leadership. In fact, we'll borrow from John Maxwell. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, right? And when I think about leadership, how do I influence the people I'm around? How do I influence the people that work with me to move in a better direction? How do I influence people to grow? And how do I influence people to be their best selves? And that's a little bit different than being bossy, right? And I think that that's the biggest challenge for us as leaders is how do we do that? Brian also talks in his portion of the videos about wearing too many hats, right? So as salon owners, we start off with the marketing hat, and we have the accounting hat, and we have the scheduling hat, and we have the ordering hat. We have all the hats for all the roles that have to be done within our company. Leadership is, how do I take off some of those hats and give them to other people? And not just give them to other people, but how do I help them grow in that role? How do I influence them in that role? So if I'm truly going to grow a company, the challenge isn't so much just delegating things to other people. It's how do we turn them into leaders so that they lead that area, that department, that part of the business that we're really trying to grow. Leadership's a huge part. Whenever we see surveys, whenever we talk to other salon owners, whenever we talk to people in consulting companies, they all say the same thing. Leadership is often number one or number two for the reasons why stylists leave a company, is that the leadership just isn't there for them.
I love that. And, I definitely want to talk about profitability, but I want to ask one more question.
Yeah, please.
In regards to leadership specifically, over the past, year and a half since COVID, we've obviously seen some shifts in the talent market and in stylists. And, what have you noticed as far as leadership? Like, how have you had to coach or tweak your leadership?
I think we have to be a little bit more flex. It's funny because I'm going to use flexible more than once in a sentence, right? One of the things we know is the stylists want more flexibility, not just stylists, all the people that work in our company, support staff, our office staff, everybody wants greater flexibility. And that means we as leaders have to be more flexible. We kind of have to get out of this mindset. Well, this is how we always did it. This is how somebody taught me how to do it. This is the way it should be done. So flexibility is probably the biggest thing from a leadership standpoint. Not only is our team asking for us, but we have to learn. And I think the crux is, or the difficulty becomes, is how do I be flexible and yet not detract from my core values or my mission as a company? Because you can get over flexible, right? And now core values no longer mean anything. You can get over flexible and your mission is no longer viable. So there's always this balance to play. How do I maintain my company's vision? How do I maintain the core values that we have as a company? And how do I give my team the flexibility that they want and is so important to them?
Yeah, but can you dive into that? Because where have you seen people kind of abandon ship when it comes to their core values, when they've kind of gotten too flexible? What have you noticed when you're coaching salon owners? Because I know, like for Sean and I, a lot of the challenge that we're seeing is many salon owners want to kind of abandon the ship of the W-2 employee based and go
Sure.
right into chair rental. Yep. Because they're so nervous that they're going to lose their team.
Yeah, I think one of the things that becomes apparent very often is that when our business is stressed, we find out really quick the people that we hired because we wanted a body in the building and the people that fit our culture, right? And so often that pressure comes and it kind of pushes out the people that politely we shouldn't have hired. And let me make this really clear, not because they're not good people, not because they're not great stylists, but our culture, our core values, our mission doesn't align with theirs. Here's my favorite example. When I say to people, hey, we're going to Florida, and I say, well, great, Florida's big. Are we going to the beach? Where are we going? And I say, we're going to a theme park. We're either going to Disney World or we're going to Universal. Now, if I tell everybody we're going to Disney World, and yet we end up at Universal, then they're all like, well, I thought we were going over here. The interesting thing is the people who go to Disney are different than the people who go to Universal. And I know this because our own education team is going to Universal right now, and there was a big debate of which place we were going. The folks with kids and families wanted to go to Disney. Our single staff members wanted to go to Universal. So there are these ideals of what I think is fun, what I'm going to enjoy, where the direction I want to go to. And if you start telling everybody in midstream that we thought we were going here, but now we're going over there, they're confused. Well, what are we doing? What do we stand for? What is the mission and vision of this company? And so, that's the biggest challenge. All of a sudden we realize maybe some of these folks shouldn't have been here. And again, nothing against them. We're just not a cultural fit. So what really needs to happen now is almost double down on that. And what I mean by that is push your culture, because that's what people really want. People want a place that they belong. People want a place that they fit in. People want a place where I'm part of something bigger than myself. The challenge isn't that people go leave for a booth or suite rental because they want to rent a suite or a booth. Some do. They're entrepreneurial. But a lot of them are just looking back and going, I don't belong here. These aren't my people, right? Let's do better. I'll do a better job on hiring. And I think a lot of that will go away.
Speaking of hiring, what are some of your tips for hiring? Because obviously culture is a huge part of that. So instead of just hiring bodies, and we've all been guilty, we've done that because you have the influx of guests, and you gotta fill the chairs.
You gotta fill the chairs. Yeah, I get it. One of the things we spend a lot of time with is you really spend a lot of time letting people know what our culture is. So when you come and apply for a job here, even I went through this when I started working with Brian. I went through 3 interviews with Brian. And all of those were, and then I was living in Massachusetts at the time. So I was getting on a plane 3 different times to fly down and meet Brian. And I knew in my first interview that I wanted to work here, right? My first interview, I was like, that's the place, right? That's the place I fit. If I'm going to sell my salon and move to Georgia, because I met my wife and she's from Georgia, she wanted to move home. If I'm going to do that, I need a place where I fit. I need a place where I belong, right? And so Brian does that. He interviews every single person who comes in the door for a job, and we've got 130 employees. He interviews every one of them. He wants to get to know them. He'll talk about our culture. He'll talk about our values. He'll talk about what's important. And he'll see the light bulb go off, right? Either that person's like, yeah, I want to be part of that. Or they're like, eh. And that's okay, because there is another salon, there is another business where that's their home, and they're going to be very happy there. Brian does 3 interviews because even though he may see the light go on the first time, he wants to check back a couple of times to make sure what he really saw was the light go on, right? And not just, wishful thinking on our part.
Wow. I can't wait to interview him on one of these. So you have to help us make that happen.
Oh,
John.
I'll help you. No problem. Yeah.
I keep hearing so many amazing things about him through you and Chris, obviously.
Well,
but I love the fact that you said you've got to let them know right away what your culture is. And so talk to that salon owner that maybe they have it in their head what their culture is, and maybe it's not in writing. So they're like, oh, okay, I got to get this started, because we know that, if it's not written down, it's not a system. And I know part of your course talks about that. So how does somebody get started? So for instance, this whole week I'm at our salon leadership retreat. We've been in business 5 years. We're finally able to afford a leadership retreat. And guess what the owner is going to be doing? Me and my daughter, who's my co-owner, we're going to be talking about culture the whole time. And that's everything we're going to continue to pinpoint. So talk a little bit about that. How does someone get started? How should they continue to maintain that? Because I think a lot of salon leaders are tired of repeating themselves.
Yeah. It's easy and it's time intensive at the same time, right? So the first place we like to start whenever we work with other salons or other businesses is we have the owners interview their staff, send them an interview form in regards to what is the best thing about this company? What are the things that you like? What are the things that you don't like? But I try to stay away from the negative and really focus on the positive things. What's your favorite thing about this company? Sometimes when you say values, they don't really know what you mean by that, right? So we say, what are your favorite characteristics? What are your favorite traits? What are the things we like best about our company? If you were to describe our company to someone else, what would you say to them? And what you're going to find is a reoccurring vocabulary. You're going to find reoccurring keywords, right? And, everybody says family, right? Oh, I like it because it's a family. Well, what kind of family are you talking about? Because in my Italian-American family, we're loud, boisterous, and we're drinking wine, okay? In my wife's family, which is Southern Baptist, there's macaroni and cheese and there's no liquor on the table, okay?
Exactly.
They're both family, but two different cultures, right? And we have to figure out what that looks like. Family is not enough. What kind of family? When you say respect, what kind of respect? When you say, education is important, what kind of education? We get caught on these keywords, but we don't define them. And I think it's really important when you're defining your culture, you actually create definitions for those words that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
So, one of the things that, when Tina was talking about your 4 areas that you discussed, I went right to profitability because that is, everybody always wants to talk about that. So kind of give an overview of your course when you're talking profitability.
Well, in profitability, we talk about there's a whole bunch of things, but one of the things that we spend a lot of time on, and for some people that may not sound exciting, but once we teach people, they're on fire, right? It's one of those things you didn't know that you were going to like until you figured out that, hey, I actually do like this. And we talk a lot about developing profit and loss statements, how to read a profit and loss statement. I promise you, I can teach you how to read a profit and loss statement in 10 minutes flat. It's not hard, right? We actually have a course at our school with our freshmen. We teach them how to read a profit and loss statement on the first couple of weeks they're in school, right? Because we want them from day one to understand that a profit and loss statement tells you some things and you need this information. And then we also talk about how to build a cash flow plan, because while profit and loss statement will tell you how efficiently you're running your business, it'll help you figure out what some benchmarks are and where you should be. A cash flow plan says, okay, this is where I'm at. Okay, here's where I want to be, right? Profit and loss statements measure the past. This is what I did last week, last month, last year. Cash flow plans say what I'm going to do this month, this quarter, this year. If you can understand one, it helps you easily build the second. And people are like, oh, it just sounds like a lot of math. There is some math, I'm not going to lie. But here's the cool thing. If you got QuickBooks, it'll do most of it for you, right? And I think as salon owners, leaders, there's always been this apprehension to learn more because we think it's going to be too hard. We think it's really not that important, or we've been embarrassed in the past to have asked questions that we feel like we should have known and we didn't. And so we stopped asking because we didn't like feeling foolish anymore, right?
Yeah.
But if you truly, truly, truly want to grow your business, understanding your profit and loss statement and being able to build a cash flow plan are 2 huge pieces. And I want to say this isn't something you learn in order to build a better business. This is stuff we should have learned before we even opened a business, right? We're just playing catch up because unfortunately in hairdressing school, we don't teach this, right?
Yeah. I love the fact that you are taking it right to the school level. And I know, Sean, and I want to hear about that. How are you making that happen? Because I know a lot of times the struggle that we have, of course, in the state of Michigan and the state of Florida, it's only 1,200 hours, 1,500 hours,
Right.
how much business training can you actually give them? Because I know a lot of salons want us to give them that sort of business training. So can you talk a little bit about that, of what you guys are doing in your schools?
Yeah, specifically the very first class we teach is we review what I call the three different business models. And the three business models are, this is a commission salon, this is a suite or chair rental, or this is an hourly team-based pay salon. Those are the three major business systems. And we present it like this: you're going to be getting a job someday. I want you to be able to ask better questions in your interview. So let's look at all three business models, and we go over what a profit and loss statement would look like for a commission salon, what a profit and loss statement looks like for a suite or chair rental, and what a profit and loss statement looks like for a team-based pay salon, right? And then what we say is, because this is what I say, I'm not here to tell you which one you should work in. My job is to give you as much information as possible. You make the best decision for yourself. And we go over all three. And then I tell them what they just did. And I say, you just built a profit and loss statement. And they go, I did? I said, yeah, that's what you just built. Now, we don't go over every single solitary line item, right? We pick the key ones. And we basically show them, you got 100 pennies coming in. Hopefully you got, we like to shoot for 10 pennies at the bottom. Where'd the other 90 go? And then once they grasp it, they're like, oh, and then they start asking better questions, right? And that's our first class. And then we pepper more of that throughout our program. We do it with our ICs, which are called industry connections. So just because somebody from another salon comes in and teaches a haircut doesn't mean next month we can't come in and teach more about, well, now that I understand what a profit and loss statement is, what do I do differently behind the chair? How do I grow my business? Why do I need to know these numbers? It's always interesting when we teach this class, because I always ask them where they want to go before I start, and then where they want to go when we're done, right? What company they want to work for. And we teach them, what to look for whenever they go to work with somebody. How are the ways that you can tell whether or not a company's making a profit?
I love that you said, we go over just, key areas on the profit and loss, because sometimes that, it can be very overwhelming with, with all of those numbers. What are those key areas that you look at?
Well, we look at the service payroll. So we start off with, here are your service sales, here are your retail sales, there's 100% of your sales, okay? Then we look at what is your payroll, meaning your commission rate. And just to make math easy, we say 50%. We say, here's 50% payroll. Here are what it costs you for the retail. How much retail did we buy? 10,000 because we sold 20. Easy. What are our service sales? Our back bar expenses. We give them a benchmark. 7% is what we use. And then MasterCard and Visa is 2%. Oh yeah, you didn't know? The business has to pay that too. Okay, add all that up. You got cost of sales. So if you started off with 100,000 and we just spent 60,000 on this stuff, how much do we have left over? 40,000. Great. Now we got heat, lights, electricity, blah, 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 blah. That takes up about another 30 grand. How much do I have left? 10. Well, when we do the model with 50% commission, it usually comes out to like 1%. And then it's like, you mean after all that, I'm only left with $500? Yep. Now I can back into that and say, this is why most salons don't pay 50% commission, because there's no money left over. Well, my friend works at a salon and they pay 50% commission. Well, let's look how they would make that happen. Does the owner work behind the chair? Yes. Is there a product cost deduction? Yes. Oh, okay. Let's see what that does. Oh, that's where exactly. And again, we do the same thing with a team-based pay model. We do the same thing with a chair or suite rental. And again, my objective is not to talk them into one of the three. My objective is, let me give you as much information as possible. You make the best decision for yourself. And people leave the room with the idea that they're going to work in a commission salon. People leave the room thinking they're going to rent a suite or a chair. And there are people that leave the room who want to look for a team-based pay salon. And I'm fine with all three, right?
Right.
My objective, again, is not to talk you into something. I just want to make sure that when you leave this building, you make the best choice for you.
I love that. And, you know, that's something that we're starting to give our salon stylists, is that education in our salon, because I think what happens, even though the students are taught this in our schools, the mere fact that we're going to forget it, you know, because you can't remember everything. I mean, think about it. You're in school for 1,500 hours and you're freaking out over color. What are you thinking about is color all 1,500 hours. You're not thinking about 10% net profit in your salon. That's the furthest thing that you're thinking of, right? And so as salon owners, so talk about that, because what is the responsibility of a salon owner to be able to train this type of information to their team so that they can continue to help them to understand what's best for them as well too, because we've had to, you know, help some of our staff to be able to go into suites or go into independent contracting because we knew that was a better fit for them, that they weren't a good fit for our team. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, even if you went through our school, we graduate about 100 students a year in our school. We hire about 20%. So 20 a year we hire, because 20 fit our culture, 20 are our people. The other 80 find other places that they find that they fit, that's a family for them. Even though they've been through the school, they go through onboarding in our company, and that onboarding revisits all that stuff we taught them in freshmen. So we do it again, right? Either to refresh your memory, because it was over a year ago that we last talked about this, or you came from a Paul Mitchell school, an Aveda school, one of the other schools, and you haven't been through our program. So we want to make sure you have it too. I think it's really important to teach your staff about this process, because here's the thing. When you don't teach people, I think you're just pulling the minivan up behind the building every night and shoveling cash in the back, right? Because, and I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that because if I'm looking at the money coming in the door as a stylist and not understanding what the expenses are to make this happen, then I'm going to feel some kind of way about it. And the other thing is, if you are going to rent a suite or a booth or a chair, I want you to know, because I care about you as an employee, I want to make sure you're set up for success when you leave this building. You know, we've got 3 new hires this 8-week span. Every 8 weeks we go through a hiring phase. We have 3 people coming into our company. We're all at suite and chair rentals. Their words, I felt like I've been in timeout for the last couple of years, right? And you know, what could I have done better to have grown a bigger business? We got to teach them, because nobody else is teaching them. You know, when an employee came to us a couple of weeks ago, our scale for commissions goes from 40 to 48%. So we have the scale. And one of the women came in the other day. She did amazing. She had $800 in tips, right? So that was amazing. But she came to us and said, I got taxed a lot. And I was like, you did? And looked at her pay stub. We had $800 in tips. And she was like, yeah, can't you just raise my commission to 50%? And it's like, well, actually, let's talk about that for a minute. Did you know that not only did your taxes go up because you had to pay $800 in tips, do you know that our company had to pay a little over 7.5% of that? What? Yeah, we had to match the FICA Medicaid, Medicare tax that you paid. So our taxes went up too. I didn't know that. Oh, well, let me share with you what that looks like. You know, so when your taxes go up, our taxes go up. When your tips go up, we have to pay a portion of that. And they don't know, because we're not sharing that information with them.
It's great that you are very transparent with all of that. That's amazing. You know, you mentioned your onboarding process. I'd love for you to kind of talk us through what that looks like.
First day is our mission statement and our core values and beliefs. Very first day. That's where we kick it off. We want you to know why I break it down like this. A mission or vision, a mission statement is why you exist. Why are you here? Right? For us, our company is, our mission statement is to elevate the beauty industry and the people and communities we serve. That is our mission. Notice it doesn't say anything about cutting hair or doing a really good balayage, right? Because for us, it's more than that. And it's important to understand the vision, because if we go off the rails for some reason, I'm going to be able to pull it back. So I'm going to say, hey, Sean, you know what? Let's talk about this. You know, our mission statement is to elevate the beauty industry and the people in the communities we serve. Can you see how what that doesn't quite fit? Oh, you're right, it really doesn't, does it? No, it doesn't. So how could we have done that fit within our mission and the vision of our company? So instead of me telling you, I'm just going to reemphasize the mission, you figure it out. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that because it's got to mean something to you. If it's just me yakking, it's just me yakking, right? I have to, as a person who works with us, have a connection with our vision. It needs to be important. Core values are how we do things. So if our mission is what I told you what our mission is, well, how do we do that? Well, we do that with integrity. We do that with innovation. We do that with artistry. We go through our list of core values. So this is why we exist. This is how we do it. I'm sorry, but you know, Tina, I really wish we could work on, you know, that work that you did today. I don't really think that was your best. You know, if I'm thinking about artistry, I don't think that's it. Yeah, you're right. That probably wasn't my best work. I kind of rushed it out, didn't I? So to me, that's a challenge with two of our core values. That's a challenge with artistry. And to me, it's a challenge with integrity, because we charged her the same we would have if we did a great job, right? Yeah. And again, I think it's really important not to yak at people, but to ask better questions that allow people to come up to their own conclusions. Now, here's the other thing. This is sad. If I have that conversation and they're like, well, I don't really care. They got their haircut. Who cares if it looks like crap, right? Or, yeah, I charged her the same for doing crap hair as I would have done good hair. Who cares? She didn't mind. Well, let's talk about that, because maybe we're not aligned culturally, right? And that's okay. I want to make that really clear. It's like I always tell people, there aren't bad values. For instance, teamwork is one of our values. Independence is not. That doesn't mean independence is a bad value. It just means we're focused on teamwork. If you work for a company where independence is important, great. And if that fits you, awesome. It's not one of ours. It's not how we do what we do.
So good. Yes, it's not how we do things around here.
Right. It's not how we do it here.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's dive into the next topic, which is coaching, which is my favorite topic for sure.
Yeah.
And the mere fact that you said we've got to learn how to stop telling and to ask better questions. I mean, that is coaching in a nutshell. So talk about your course and what it's about and why it's so important as a salon owner that we learn how to be great coaches.
It's so important because I believe that in order for people to truly learn, it's got to come out of their mouth, not mine, right? They have to think it so they can say it. So my job as a coach is not to tell you, because that's you hearing what I said, right? I need you to think what I said. And so I will, well, what would happen if we did this? How do you think that looked? What would happen if we did this? And now that person's thinking, well, if I did it that way, or if I did it like this, that might happen. Love that. Do that, right? Because when you're thinking it and it comes out of your mouth, it's your idea, not mine, right? And we like our own ideas better than we like other people's, right? Which is awesome. But the other piece is, and I want to go back just a little bit, is before we can even get there, we have got to build a rapport with the people that you work with first. If you can't figure out why they're here, what their core values are, what's important to them, then you can't coach them properly. What you can do is tell them what to do, and we're really good at that. But that's not coaching. Whenever I meet with a new employee, my first 2, 3, 4 meetings are all about I want to know what you do, what your husband does for a living if you're married. I want to know what your wife does for a living if you're married. I want to know what your kids, how many kids you got. I want to know what your plans are for the future. I want to know why you became a hairdresser. I want to know why you chose to work here. I want to know you as a person. Until I know what your life goals are, I can't help. Because here's the thing. I've got company goals, and my company goals are important. But the company goals and your personal goals have to work together. Otherwise, I'm just coaching you to improve my bottom line. I'm coaching you to numbers because it's important to me. You know, if I say to you, Tina, what's really important to you? You know, well, I've just had my second child and I really would like to cut down to 3 days a week. And I really want to spend more time with my husband. And, you know, I don't want to work Saturdays anymore because our kids got, you know, sports. Great. I love that. How do we make that happen? And if I can align the company's goals with your goals in this aspect, then we're like peanut butter and jelly, right? We're going to have a great time because I know that what I'm doing is growing the company, but what I'm doing directly affects my ability to get what I want, which is I want to work 3 days a week. I want to make the same amount of money. I don't want to work Saturdays. Great. Let me show you how to get there. Now and because I know you on a personal level, we can have frank and open conversations, right?
Yes.
All good coaching starts there.
You mentioned, you know, your first few meetings with your new hires. How often are you meeting with your new hires? What is your meeting / coaching sessions look like? Are they scheduled that you meet with the same people every single week, or is it kind of just as needed?
It's as needed, but it's more specific than that. So first of all, I don't generally meet with all of the new employees. Now, I do know all 130 of them by name. I make it a point that when I walk in the building, I know your name. So I know who you are. And it's funny because at first, if I don't know you, I take your picture and I put it on my phone. And they all laugh because I think it's hysterical, but it makes a point. I am going to remember your name. And when I drive to a location, I whip up my phone and I go, oh, that's Alexis and that's Candace. So before I even walk in, now here's the thing, 2 or 3 times, I don't need a picture anymore, right? Because after 2 or 3 times, I'm going to remember. But I'm very purposeful in making sure I know who every single person is in this company, right? So now when I'm moving forward, the managers actually meet with their stylists on a regular basis. If you're brand new, once a week. And it doesn't have to be formal, but once a week, we are going to touch base. What's working for you? What's not working for you? Where are you stuck? After about a month or 2 of that, probably closer to 2 months, maybe even 3, then you have a one-on-one once a month. And that is scheduled in the appointment book. So put it in the appointment book, 45 minutes. You've been here for 3 months now, Sean. We're going to have a one-on-one once a month. Do we go over numbers? Most of the time, but those one-on-ones can't be numbers driven. They have to be Sean's goal. I'll use the numbers to measure how he's getting there. But if the meeting is about the numbers and not about Sean, they're going to hate these one-on-ones, right? Because you're just saying the same thing over and over again. Sean, you're not selling enough retail. Sean, you're not selling enough retail. Sean, you're not selling enough retail. Sean, tell me why retail is important to me in regards to I only want to work 3 days a week. I want Saturdays off. And I want to make the same money in 3 days that I did in 5. Until you can tell me how retail does that, I don't care, right? And then lastly, if you've been here for a couple of years, once a month tends to be a bit much, right? Once a quarter, I think does well for our senior staff. And those are people that have been here 4 or 5 years. But just because you're meeting with them once a quarter doesn't mean you shouldn't interact or touch base with them. And so I'm a big fan of hanging out in the back room. You know, I think one of the things as salon owners, we don't want to go in the back room. That's their space. Well, guess what? It is. And I'm busy, so I'm not going to hang out there a lot. But when I go to visit our salons, I sit at the break table. I just hang out there for a couple hours. Sometimes people talk to me. Sometimes they show me pictures of their kids. Sometimes they show me pictures of their haircuts. But if I'm not available, then they're not going to show me anything, right? So once a week for new employees, once a month for those ones who are building, once a quarter for our senior staff who know what to do. But I'm always going to hang out in the back room and just get to know people and touch base and see what's going on.
That's amazing. It's like you're in our head, because has been our exact thoughts of shifting it from once a month to quarter for our senior staff as well too, and kind of making some shifts that way. You mentioned retail, and that just got me kind of excited. So I want to jump there just for a second. So what is, if you know what the number is, but what is your RTS, if you will, that you have in your salons? And talk to those salon owners, especially us, our salon. How can we increase that retail sales? Like, what do you think is the magic potion, if you will, to get there?
Our retail to service numbers right now are like 12%. It's not a number I'm happy. It's not a number I'm happy with, right?
You're double R's, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm not happy with it. And here's the thing. I'm not happy with it because I'll admit to have not put a lot of effort behind it with this COVID year. I just felt we had so many other things that needed to be addressed. And I mean, we got people I just talked to a woman today, her mother-in-law's in the hospital, in the hospice with COVID. Wow. We got bigger fish to fry right now, right? Yeah, people need us. They need their support. I'm not really stressed out about the retail to service ticket right now. Now, 2022, we're going to get refocused, right?
Yeah, game on.
Yeah, game on. It's been 2 years now, this COVID thing, right? We got we do have a business to run. Well, for the last year and a half, we've just kind of laid off. It wasn't as important.
Same.
How do we do that? I know that the people with the best retention rates sell retail, right? I know that the people who have higher rebooking rates sell retail. And this is what I tell people. It's not the retail. What it is they trust you. A client buys retail from you because they trust you. A client rebooks an appointment with you because they trust you. A client comes back, meaning your client retention rate goes up, because they trust you. Low retail sales to me aren't a number to beat you up with. Low retail sales tell me you have a trust issue. Let's figure out what that looks like. If we get your trust up, your retail goes with it.
No, that's great. It's so funny because Tina and I were just talking about retail this morning. So I'm glad that we hit on that topic. As we kind of get ready to wrap this up, you have one more area that you talk about, which is growth. And I think, that's why we have podcasts. That's why people are listening to us right now is for that growth. So talk a little bit about your growth course.
I think one of the things that, a lot of stylists struggle with is there's a bunch of things here. One is pricing. Let's go right to that first. I think too many stylists are underpriced.
Yes.
I was talking to Jay Williams not too long ago, and Jay had told me that there was a survey done like 20 years ago on what the average haircut price was across the United States. And it was like $50, and then they do it again 20 years later. Now it's 55. So in like 20 years, the average haircut price in the entire United States went up $5.
Wow.
Now, there's this narrative that I hear a lot on social media that bothers me a little bit. And that narrative is charge what you're worth, charge what you're worth, charge what you're worth. And hear me clearly, we need to charge what we're worth. But before we get there, in my mind, you need to be worth what you charge.
Yeah.
Right. And I think until we do that part, in other words, be worth what you charge, the other doesn't come. Right. Because what ends up happening is you scare clients away. But let me recap and let me say this loud and clear. We as an industry are seriously undercharging for our services. We need to do better. Having said that, we as an industry have to make it worth it, right? Because I'll tell a silly story. There's this woman who works downstairs in our company. She's been here for 20 years. I walked in the back room. I'm going to talk fast so I can make this story short. She's got her feet up. And I'm like, Mandy, what's going on? She's like, oh, my feet are killing me. And I was like, I heard you say that if I raise my prices, that I'll lose 10% of my clients. I said, yeah, if you raise them about 10%, you'll lose 10% of your clients. I need to do that because I'm tired and I need to do that. Fine. Raise their prices from $64 to $70, right? And I'm thinking she's happy now. She's going to make some money. A couple months goes by. I walk in the back room. She's feet are up on the chair again. Now, here's the thing. Mandy's feet are never up on a chair. This woman's triple booked all the time. So when you see her sitting down, something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, you lied to me. I was like, what are you talking about? You said that if I raise my prices 10%, I'd lose 10% of my customers. I was like, how many did you lose? She goes, I didn't lose any. I was like, not one? I said, great, let's raise them 10% again. She's like, no, I can't do that. I was like, what are you talking about? You're sitting here with your feet up in the chair. You just told me you didn't lose a single client. Let's raise your prices again. Here's what I'll tell you. Mandy's worth it, right? Mandy is worth it. People will pay 77, they'll pay 107, they'll pay a lot of money for Mandy because she's worth it. And we forget that, right? We are still in a customer service business, right? We're here to take care of people. They take care of us. Work on your trust, right? Why isn't your trust there? Because when your trust is there, clients will pay $70, $80, $100 for your service. I'm not opposed to charging more and more and more. In fact, I say go for it. What I don't want to see happen is you hurt yourself because you raised your prices, and you forgot to give the client value for what they're paying for.
Yeah. How do you help your team to build trust?
With the guests?
Yeah.
One of the challenges is that, many folks don't know how to build rapport. We talked about that. That's the first thing I do when I'm coaching people is I got to get to know you first, right? I think some of our stylists struggle with that. And a part of it's the whole pandemic thing. A lot of people just don't want to talk. They just want to sit and chill and get their hair done, right? But you got to get to know people. We have to teach people how to build rapport. You can't just say to people, go talk to that client, make friends with them. They don't know how.
Right.
And that's not
right.
That's okay. Because I also don't know how to read a profit and loss statement. I also don't know how to do that graduated bob that looks flawless. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do. Why would you teach them how to do these things and not teach them how to have a conversation, right? Consultations are really important, right? A really good consultation is important. And one of the things I think is also important is to be humble, right? So when a client says, I don't know how to want something, you can say, you know what, I don't know how to do that, or I think this might work better. I think that we get stuck sometimes being order takers, right? Well, she said that's what she wanted. Yeah, but you knew it wasn't going to work, right? And we have to be open and honest with that. You want 50% commission. I can't do that, but let me show you why. And let me show you other ways that you can make more money. We have to be that transparent, open people that some of us are and some of us need to work on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love that.
So all of this great stuff has just been dropped today. How do people contact you, find you? How can they sign up for these courses?
Well, you can always, I'm on social media as No Indoor Voice, one word. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, TikTok, if it exists on social media, I'm No Indoor Voice. So you can just search for me there. Also, you can reach our company, 124go.com. You can just send an email to info@124go.com. And if you want, check out our website, 124goacademy.com, where you can see the video series that you guys referenced earlier. Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into this. I'm so excited. Like I said, I found my new coach and my new mentor.
Oh, thank you so much.
This was so good. I feel like I could have you every single week because you have just incredible knowledge. Our last question for you today is, this is called Next Level Salon Leadership. What do you think specifically salon owners need to do right now to go to the next level?
Wow, I don't know if there's one thing. I'm going to say where I started off, you need to be flexible in your thinking, right? We need to start thinking different. Now, being flexible doesn't mean caving,
Right.
right? Because your
Yeah.
mission statement and your values are still really, those are the things that set you apart. So don't cannibalize your mission and your values, but you still have to learn to be flexible within that same model.
Perfectly said. You're amazing, John. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone
Thank
for
you
John,
so
joining
much.
us.
So nice to meet you. Thank you, Tina.
Okay. Bye-bye.